Good morning from a very beautiful, very warm Austin, Texas on a Thursday morning. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that I think a lot of us do. I'm going to say mostly unfaithful in this dynamic that I'll be discussing today. What I'm going to do first, though, is offer a disclaimer, because there are certain situations where there is abuse and a violation of boundaries where someone has to then protect themselves, and it's a concept called self-protection. Now, I'm not speaking in gun issues or violence of any kind. I'm talking about in a certain scenario where your partner or spouse has abused you, threatened you, or things like that. It's absolutely essential that you utilize self-protection and that you learn how to self-protect in every capacity of those words. But what I'm going to talk to you about is something that we do, mostly unfaithful, but sometimes betrayed, in a way that can be problematic for recovering from an affair or an addiction. It looks like this. We get caught in a situation where we, the unfaithful, feel like we have to be vulnerable or let our guard down, or that we're being called to the carpet for our choices. And it's a moment where we should take responsibility, where we should be vulnerable, where we should humble ourselves, where we should own what we've done or what we're doing, but we choose to kind of wall up and self-protect. In all honesty, I used to do this a lot because early on in recovery, I had not done a lot of work. I didn't even understand what work was. And so I hadn't developed the tools to self-soothe, to be vulnerable, to let my guard down, to be comfortable in my own internal self-reference and be able to have discussions that were calm and cool and practical without so much emotion. And we, unfaithful, do this a lot. Instead of maybe being present or leaning in or being available, some people call it holding space for their partner, they self-protect, they wall themselves off, and it becomes just another obstacle to overcome in recovery work. So you might say, well, Sam, what does that look like practically? It looks like this. We, the unfaithful, instead of being available, leaning in, letting our guard down, being present, some people call it holding space for their partner, we will absolutely stay busy. We will occupy all hours of the day so that we don't have to have these delicate, confrontational, emotional conversations. We'll take on extra work. We'll say, oh, I've got to do this. We'll book extra trips to travel if we are in a profession that travels. We will push our partner away. We'll say, I don't want to talk about it right now. It's not a good time. We'll talk about it later. We will continue to push away our partner to self-protect. We'll also, and this gets into the toxicity of it, of course, is we will wound our partner verbally, emotionally. We'll lash out before they wound us because we're trying to protect ourselves. We may also kind of one down our partner. Well, if you didn't do this, well, if you would just do this, if you would just come to me nicer, if you would just be more kinder, if you would stop yelling, if you would all these things to kind of push our partner down because we want to self-protect and not have to engage with our partner. Now, let me share with you, if this is what you do, how it affects the betrayed. The betrayed in many ways feels several things when this happens. Number one is they feel incredible frustration because they want to talk, they want to heal. If they're engaged as a betrayed, they want to try and heal, but yet you keep self-protecting and pushing them farther and farther away. And I can tell you there will come a time where you will push them too far and you may lose them because you have prioritized your own self-protection over their ability to connect with you on a deeper level. Next is it just delays the whole process. It just keeps pushing things further and further behind. And then you may, as an unfaithful, rattle off the statement that makes the betrayeds want to stab you in the face, which is, can we just stop talking about it? Can we just get over it? Can we just put it behind us? No, They can't because you keep self-protecting and you keep delaying the fact that they need to talk about it. All you're doing is making things worse for you because you keep pushing it away. Until you're willing to talk about it, even in slow increments of time, you're going to be frustrated and angry and wish that they would stop talking about it. And eventually they will stop talking about it because they will probably consider ending the relationship. Next, and I thought about this driving in, how to say it right. It's pretty heavy. When you self-protect, you as an unfaithful, in this scenario anyway, present yourself or appear more wicked and ruthless than you actually might be. What I mean by that is, to the betrayed, it appears that you just are incapable of emotion and empathy and compassion and respect. They start throwing out terms like, you're just a true narcissist. You're just a sociopath. You appear in their light as a wicked person, when in reality, you maybe just don't have the coping skills. You may be upset, you may have trauma, you may have fear. But the problem is they don't know those things because you keep self-protecting, so they don't know what to believe. So they're lost in a sea of confusion and anxiety and uncertainty. And then they start reaching for some type of understanding, all because you were prioritizing you over them and you are self-protecting. And I promise you, it's causing them to see you in ways that might not be accurate at all, but until you're willing to stop doing this, you can't change their opinion. Finally, it shows them that you don't want to heal and that they are not a priority. They're already dealing with feeling like they're not a priority because you had an affair or you're struggling with an addiction, and now they feel even worse, like you don't love them or care for them or want to help them heal. And it is causing more pain, which is the last thing that you probably want and the last thing that they need. Now, let's talk about why the unfaithful may be doing this. I'm going to give you the hardest one first. I hope you'll keep listening and watching, but it's a tough one. The first one is, in some scenarios, the unfaithful self-protects because in prior circumstances, they've tried and the betrayed has shamed them, screamed, yelled, throw things, all of that. Now, this is a moment where several people like to lash out and send these comments that say, you know what? They should be able to handle it. They shouldn't have cheated if they didn't want to handle this. And you know what? They can't handle a little bit of anger because they had an affair. Listen, nobody is saying that you're not going to be upset. Nobody is saying that you can't be expressive. What I'm talking about, for clarification, is when you are going to have a 4-hour marathoning session with your partner and tell them how wicked they are, what a piece of crap they are, and what a terrible excuse for life they are, that might be one of the reasons why they are self-protecting. If you're just going to call them names for hours at a time, if you're going to get physically violent, if you're going to do things like that, any expert is going to tell them they have to self-protect and draw a boundary. So you have to ask yourself, how are your reactions? Maybe they are doing that because there has been some behavior that has been over the edge, and maybe you need to say, hey, okay, I get it, I understand that. Does that mean that you shouldn't be angry or emotional? Not at all. Does that mean that you shouldn't be able to have a bad day? Not at all. It just means that if we're going to move towards healing, both of us have work to do. Next is the fact that they may have, in one of the videos that I have done previously, they may have scary mommy issues or neglect issues from their father. They may have several things going on. Maybe their family didn't communicate. They yelled and screamed. So they self-protect because of their own unhealed developmental trauma. There's a reason they're self-protecting. I don't know what it is yet, but I promise you there's a reason for it. They may not even know why, but if they've experienced a lot of trauma growing up, or if they've been through traumatic events, that might be one of the reasons why they are so grasping to self-protect at any minimal threat of conversation or emotion. It might be that they really have issues of anger or rage inside, and they don't know why, they don't know how. Maybe they do and they're unwilling to face it. That might be why they self-protect. They may actually struggle with narcissism. They may be a true narcissist. I don't know. But those issues will also cause someone to self-protect. But before we lash out into assigning them as a true narcissist or assigning them as a sociopath, it would be wise to find an expert to assess them and go through a process of helping them if they are willing. Because I just heard you betrayeds go, yeah, if they were willing. I totally get it. Part of their self-protection might be them saying, yeah, I'm not willing to do that. And inevitably, you'll come to the point, betrayeds, where you say, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Because if they're going to prioritize their own self-protection out of their own dysfunction, not because you've somehow crossed the boundary so many times that they feel that that's what they're going to do. And I can hear the unfaithful say, see, you've crossed the boundary. Look, crossing a boundary is not just getting angry or wanting to have an intense conversation. If you've been unfaithful or had an addiction or acted out in any way, you've betrayed them and violated them. There's going to be emotion. There's going to be pain and hurt. To expect them to handle it perfectly is unrealistic. I hope that this has helped you today. If you struggle with self-protection, find an expert. Look at one of our courses online or our EMS weekends. I promise you, we can help you with that. If you are on the other side of the self-protection, and you can be a betrayed and still utilize this self-protection type behavior, again, find an expert that can help you. Look on our website, affairrecovery.com. We'll do all that we can to help you both. Thank you for joining me today. My thoughts are with you. I know that this is not easy, but I promise you, you can do it. You just can't give up.